Third Cinema was a global movement in which Third World countries started to add their own cultural and artistic vision into the cinematic industry. Though it was a global movement, the bulk of the films were produced in Latin America between the period of the 60s and the 70s. The movement officially started in Latin America in 1967 with the release of the
Nuestro
controversial
pueblo
film
ha
The
tenido en
Hour
sus
of the
luchas de
Furnaces.
liberación no pocos mártires. En los últimos años,
Unlike classical Hollywood being influenced by the Great Depression, and Italian neorealism being influenced by fascism and World War II, Third Latin American cinema was influenced by the colonization of Latin America. The film genre emphasized poverty, class, culture, personal identity, colonialism, revolution, and tyranny. Though films in this genre have many similar traits, none strictly adhere to any aesthetic theme, but they are rooted in a very Marxist aesthetic. The film movement can be described as a revolution for film, as these nations rarely, if ever, participated into this art form. As Julio Garcia says when describing the movement, a new poetics for cinema will, above all, be a partisan and committed cinema, that is to say, an imperfect cinema. The main branching theme or message of all these films was that they supported the decolonization of the Third World. They supported this message through socially realistic portrayals of real life. As Thomas Gutierrez says, cinematic realism does not lie in its alleged ability to capture reality, just like it is. An example of this would be 1968's Three Sad Tigers, which portrays a realistic view into Santiago's
no me
underworld.
la ponga nerviosa. Te sienta, huevón cobarde. Hable nomás, total, yo me fumo mi cigarrillo tranquilito ahí.
Reasons for the sort of isolationism sentiment can be traced back to the very history of Latin America itself. The earliest this sentiment can be dated back is when the Spanish invaded the continent, starting in 1519, and through many dramatic acts conquered it. Almost a century later, these colonies of Latin America sought independence from the European rulers, so they had several wars for control. Though eventually they became independent, other countries continued to meddle with them. For example, for most of the 19th century, Britain dominated Latin America and the region. The term Third Cinema was coined by Argentine filmmakers Fernando Solanas and Octasio Genito. Another significant trait of these films is that most filmmakers and actors participating were in a sense very inexperienced. This was on purpose though, because expertise at a film role within this genre was discouraged. This level of inexperience added a new take to the film genre with new perspectives on how a film should treat itself
Entonces el médico jefe
and the
llegó y me
role
dijo,
of audience participation.
el único remedio que podría tener usted es irse a un lugar que se llama Sudamérica. Allá en la punta al fondo hay un lugar que se llama Chile. Ahí tomé el mapa, hago una cruz.
During the course of the movement, the strong emphasis on anti-colonial themes and the decolonization of the Third World diminished in its intensity. Other films, such as Three Sad Tigers, differed from the movement's inciting theme of decolonization, and the movement as a whole lessened in this overarching theme. This film stands in contrast from The Hour of the Furnaces. This film was incredibly controversial in its portrayal of Argentine history, skewing itself heavily in the direction of decolonization. In summary, this film genre was the premiere of the Third World influence into the art form, with Latin America representing most of the films. Though the movement started off with a powerful emphasis on anti-colonialism, that message soon dissipated, which in a way made room for more artistic freedom in the making of a film during this period.